Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at Sundays for Dogs. It's a new dry dog food that's supposed to be a healthy alternative to kibble. When you're comparing dry dog foods, there's two big categories you want to look at. One is what's in it, and the second is how it's made. So first and foremost, Sundays is made only with whole human grade ingredients. So you look here, this is their chicken recipe. The ingredients are organic chicken, chicken liver, eggs, millet, which is like a grain, oats, banana, pumpkin, ground bone, which is important for a dog's mineral intake, salmon oil, which is good for their skin and coat, kale, sea salt, flaxseed, parsley, turmeric, kelp. You can see the rest of the list, but it's all totally normal things like berries, vegetables, and other things that are good for dogs. It's also totally human grade. So while I definitely would not recommend eating this, because it would taste more like a dog treat, you actually could technically eat it, which is not true of most kibbles, which are made with feed grade ingredients. This is made with human grade ingredients. So that's the first thing. The second thing is how it's made. So Sundays, as you can see on the packaging, is air dried. So the way kibble is produced is it's extruded at extremely high temperatures. And what this does is it basically bakes or boils away all the liquid, and the food is processed and formed into those little dry kibble bits that you recognize. And this helps them keep it shelf stable. It also helps them, totally eliminate bacteria because they're often using less quality ingredients, like I said, feed grade ingredients. But at the same time, that hot process destroys a lot of the nutrition that's in food. So by air drying their ingredients, Sundays helps preserve a lot of the nutrition that's in, organic chicken or chicken liver especially, or that is in, for example, pumpkin. The process that they use is a little bit less efficient for them, but it yields a better product for your dog. Next, I wanted to take a look at how the food is packaged. So Sundays comes in a cereal box. You've already seen the ingredients and the guaranteed analysis and all this stuff. But on the back, you've got your favorite Saturday morning puzzle that you used to do while you ate your cereal and watched cartoons. So some of them have a crossword puzzle, some of them have a word search. Obviously, your dog's not going to care about that, but it's kind of just a clever little thing they do. They also talk a little bit about the food. It's all natural, human grade. They talk about how it's served. Basically, you just take it out of the bag. It's really easy to serve. They also talk about, they have some contact information and some other stuff. And then on this side, yeah, it's just instructions. So inside the box is a bag. Now, this is just, going to be typical like any dog food bag. This is the smallest size they deliver, by the way, so if you have a bigger dog, you'll probably get a bigger box and package. But one thing I didn't actually know about and surprisingly loved was the way their bag's resealable. So a lot of dog food bags, a lot aren't resealable, and then some that are have a really cheap Ziploc thing that's kind of hard to close and really seal. Sundays has like a Velcro resealable thing, which I had never seen before, and it is surprisingly way better. Like I like it way more. So it's very easy because like Velcro is just so sticky, it makes it super easy to seal. And that's, I found a lot more convenient than like struggling to get the little plastic thing done. So now I want to show you what the food actually looks like. So since it's air dried, it's formed and broken into these little pieces that kind of resemble like a jerky. They're a little bit hard, not too hard for your dog to chew, they're just kind of crunchy. And Hobbes just figured out what we're doing. So here you go, buddy. Sit. So this is what they look like. These little squares of food, a little bit, maybe a little bit less suspicious than kibble. But really, again, it all comes down to the process they're prepared with. So it's all totally air dried instead of extruded at high temperatures, which makes the result a lot healthier. Okay, Hobbes, here. Go ahead. We'll just let him, he hasn't had his lunch yet, so. You almost done, buddy? You like the bowl clean? Okay. No, don't like the camera. Okay. All right, get down. All right, now that Hobbes is done eating his lunch, I just want to say a couple more things about the food. Sundays is made with over 90% fresh meat, organs, and bones, which is, you know, the important components you want to see in your dog food. So that's a very high percentage, and because of it, their food is about twice as dense as kibble. So don't be surprised if you order some and look at the instructions and it doesn't seem like a lot of food for you. It's because that food is really calorie dense and rich in nutrients. So you don't want to just eyeball it and feed your dog about the same amount of Sundays as you would their, you know, Purina kibble or something, because the process in which it's made makes it more calorie dense, and also there's just a lot less fillers in it. And so those things make it so that you feed them less than you would think you should visually, but your dog's gonna get all the nutrition and calories they need and they're gonna be full. The other thing is, you know, you're gonna obviously wanna always provide plenty of water with your dog's food, because eating dry dog food will make them thirsty in a way that like a fresh wet food wouldn't. Both of Sunday's foods are formulated by a veterinary nutritionist who actually founded the company, and they are created to meet like the AAFCO dog food nutrient profiles for all life stages, including large breed puppies. So you can feed this from puppy to adult, which a lot of foods require a special recipe for puppies, a special one for adults, and sometimes another one for seniors. This does meet the standards for all dog ages, so that's good to know. Another thing we want to point out is, again, we already looked at what's in the chicken recipe, and the beef recipe, similar ingredients: USDA beef, beef heart, beef liver, beef bone, quinoa, pumpkin, salmon oil, sunflower oil, zucchini, kale. The ingredient list goes on, although it is entirely things that you recognize and might find in your own refrigerator. And the important thing here is it is significantly shorter than the ingredient list of your typical cheap big grocery store kibble. And there are, the reason it's shorter is because there's just way fewer synthetic additives. You're never going to see any choline chloride or polyphosphate or anything like that. All those things that you can't pronounce. Sundays does not have those in its food. It's entirely just, you know, groceries. So that's really good to know. The other thing is, in addition to not having the synthetic additives, it also doesn't have just like the really cheap fillers that a lot of the very biggest brands cut their food with to make it cheaper and cheaper to produce and more shelf stable and all this stuff. So there's no canola meal, there's no animal fat preservatives, there's no like natural flavor, quote unquote, which you don't really know what that is when they say that. Other common fillers are soy, brewer's dried yeast. And then another area where Sundays tries to set it apart is it also doesn't use any of the legume family of fillers. Now this is a little bit of a controversy in the dog food world. A few years ago, the FDA actually announced a study they were doing into grain-free dog foods and heart disease. And the reason that researchers, the study is still ongoing, but the reason scientists believe the grain-free food may be causing this disease is because in order to become grain-free, a lot of dog food brands will use peas, pea protein, legumes such as lentils and chickpeas, and also certain starches like potatoes. They use those to replace the grains and to sometimes hold the food together and stuff like that. Now, these ingredients themselves are not necessarily toxic or dangerous for dogs. I mean, you know, peas, potatoes, those are all fine. However, if they're fed as a very large percentage of your dog's diet for a long time, the theory is that they might block certain nutrient receptors that can lead to heart disease. So you don't necessarily, I mean, the verdict is out on that study, so you can't say one way or the other. But what Sundays is trying to do is offer a food that is not grain-free, because, or at least not both of their recipes are grain-free, because to be honest, that's kind of become like a shallow sales tactic. The vast majority of dogs don't need grain-free food, and it might actually not be better. So they actually have made sure to eliminate some of the ingredients that the latest science says might be a problem. Again, if you see peas or lentils in another brand of healthy dog food, you don't necessarily need to be super alarmed. It's not necessarily going to like poison your dog or anything, but you may want to, at the very least, occasionally feed them a rotational diet that doesn't use those types of ingredients, unless your dog truly does need to be grain-free and your vet has told you that. That's in a small cases of dogs. Maybe if they have IBD or something like that, it's possible. But Sundays is generally made with less fillers, less harsh ingredients, and it should be really digestible for most dogs. And also they aim to kind of be another option that avoids that potential risk and all of the marketing buzz that is formed around it. So how much does Sundays cost? I will say it generally comes in like the similar range as other really healthy dry dog foods. So because it doesn't have any of those really cheap ingredients and synthetic additives I talked about before that big brands use to cut their prices down and make it cheaper to manufacture, Sundays uses entirely human-grade ingredients sourced in the United States in the Midwest. And that's going to, and they also use a less efficient from a cost perspective manufacturing process. So that is going to make the food more expensive, and that's kind of to be expected if you're getting better quality food. Hopefully, the theory is it'll pay dividends down the road if your dog has fewer health issues and maybe even lives longer because of their better diet. That's where you kind of get the payoff. So small breeds such as like a Yorkshire Terrier or a Chihuahua or something like that, that's just like maybe 6 or 7 pounds, they'll probably get a price that's closer to like $1.50 a day. Bigger, medium-sized breeds might pay $3.50, $4. Large breeds might pay $4 to $5, potentially more if you've got a really giant dog. So that's per day. It depends entirely on how much your dog needs. And the way to find out is you can go to a Sunday's website and complete their little onboarding survey. Well, you'll answer a few questions about your dog, such as their age and weight, if they're neutered, their breed, if they have a ideal body type, or if they're over or underweight, how active they are, things like that. It takes about a minute or two. And then you'll get their suggested meal plan. You'll be able to choose between their 2 recipes, beef or chicken, and you will also see the shipping frequency. So you'll see, okay, I'll get this much food every, let's say, 4 weeks it might be. And the really nice thing there is you never have to think about shopping for your dog's food again. It'll always, you'll always have exactly how much you need for the next couple of weeks, and it'll always come on automatically, so you don't have to worry about bringing it home from the store. Of course, you can cancel or pause your shipments at any time. So if you find out you don't want, next month's delivery, you can always flexibly do that. And there's no long-term commitments, like you don't have to commit to a year or anything like that. Sundays offers 2 food options, the beef recipe and the chicken recipe. Those are currently the only 2 options they have. We don't know if they'll create more in the future or not. We also don't know if they'll create other food types, such as treats. Most brands do, but we'll see. It's still a relatively young brand. If you're trying to decide between the 2 food options, the beef recipe is actually a little bit cheaper, at least currently. That could change as, the cost of different types of meat changes. It wasn't a huge difference in price between the 2, but if you have a larger dog and your monthly cost is higher, then the difference might actually be meaningful. The other thing is the beef recipe was a little bit stronger scented versus the chicken recipe had a kind of lighter scent. So if you're somebody who's really averse to really strong smelling dog food, and that's something that you actually think about, try out the chicken recipe first, maybe, just because it's got a lighter smell. I'm not saying the beef recipe had an especially potent smell compared to like most kibbles. It didn't actually. We just noticed when we switched from the beef recipe to the chicken that it actually had a lighter smell. So that's something to think about. In addition to that, Sundays is currently offering 20% off. If you use our link, I believe you'll get 20% off your first delivery, which could be a significant amount of savings, especially if you have a big dog. So check that out. It doesn't hurt to get a quote to do the little survey and see what you'd pay. There's no commitments. You don't have to enter any payment info or anything like that to find out what your meal plan would be. So it's really easy to find out. And we've been feeding it to our dog Hobbes for about a month now, and he actually loves it. As you saw before, he comes as soon as he hears it, and he's gobbled it down. You have to kind of transition them slowly at the beginning because you don't want to shock their system, and that's true of all dog foods. And Sundays will give you instructions on how to transition them to the new food. But so we went through that, and he's been eating it for a while now, and he's loving it.